hands folded neatly in her lap. The lawyer across the desk, a thin man with silver glasses, pushed a stack of papers toward her with the kind of smile that made her stomach turn. "Mrs. Bradford requests that you sign by Friday," he said, his tone dripping with false politeness. "Mr. Bradford has been more than generous with the settlement offer." Simone stared at the papers. Divorce papers. Her husband of 8 years had filed for divorce without a single conversation. No argument. No warning. Just papers delivered by a stranger while she was having coffee in what she thought was her home. "Where is my husband?" she asked quietly. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Mr. Bradford felt it would be easier this way. Less emotional. Less emotional. Simone almost laughed. They had built his empire together. She had used her economics degree from Howard University to help structure his first deals. She had stood beside him at every fundraiser, every business dinner, every moment that mattered. And now he sent a lawyer. "The penthouse," Simone said slowly. "I assume I'm being asked to leave. Mr. Bradford will need you to vacate by Sunday evening. All your personal belongings, of course. The furniture and art will remain as they're considered shared assets subject to division." Shared assets. The art she had picked out. The furniture she had chosen. The home she had made warm while he worked late. Or what she thought was work. "And where is my husband staying?" Simone asked, though she could feel the answer coming like a punch. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Bradford has taken up residence in the penthouse with his companion." He felt since it's his primary residence. His companion. Simone's voice didn't shake. She wouldn't give this man that satisfaction. "You mean Natasha?" The lawyer didn't answer. He didn't have to. Everyone knew about Natasha. The 25-year-old marketing consultant, who had joined Bradford's company 6 months ago. Simone had met her at the company holiday party, had shaken her hand, had smiled while Natasha looked at her with something like pity. Now Natasha was sleeping in her bed. "The settlement offers you the Connecticut house and a one-time payment of $2 million. Given that you signed a prenuptial agreement, Mr. Bradford feels this is exceptionally fair." $2 million. Bradford's company was worth over $300 million. She had helped build it from $30 million when they married. And he was offering her less than 1%. Simone reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Her hand was steady as she opened the voice recording app and set it on the desk. "What are you doing?" the lawyer asked, his smug smile fading. "I'm recording this meeting. I want to make sure I understand everything clearly. You said Mr. Bradford is currently living in the penthouse with Natasha. The same penthouse that's titled in both our names. Is that correct?" The lawyer's face paled slightly. "Mrs. Bradford, I don't think. Is that correct?" Simone repeated. "The property division is outlined in the settlement. Which I haven't signed yet. So my husband is living in property that's half mine with another woman. I just want to make sure I understand the timeline. When did Natasha move in?" "I'm not at liberty to." "Last week? Last month? While I was still living there?" Simone leaned forward. "Because I left for my sister's house in Chicago just 3 days ago. I was gone for 72 hours. Did she move in during those 3 days or was she already there?" The lawyer stood up. "Mrs. Bradford, I think we should schedule another meeting when you've had time to review the documents with your own attorney." "Oh, I'll have an attorney review everything." Simone stood too, gathering the papers. "But I want you to know something. I'm going to sign these papers. I'm going to be out of that penthouse by Sunday night. I'm going to make this very easy for Bradford and Natasha." The lawyer looked relieved. "But you should also know," Simone continued, her voice soft and clear, "that I'm not the stupid trophy wife Bradford thinks I am. I have a master's in economics. I know exactly how much Bradford's company is worth. I know how much I contributed. And I know what I'm entitled to." She picked up her phone, stopped the recording and smiled. "I'll see myself out." In the elevator going down, Simone looked at her reflection in the polished doors. She was 34 years old. Beautiful, her mother always said, with rich brown skin that glowed even. Under fluorescent lights, natural hair she'd worn in twists lately, and dark eyes that usually sparkled with warmth. Right now those eyes were cold. She had spent 8 years being the perfect wife. Supporting Bradford's dreams. Putting her own career on hold. Smiling at his business partners. Ignoring the whispers about his late nights and weekend conferences. Now he had chosen Natasha. Beautiful, young, white Natasha who knew nothing about building a business but apparently knew enough to take Simone's place in her own bed. The elevator reached the ground floor. Simone walked through the marble lobby, her heels clicking against the floor. Outside, the Chicago afternoon was bright and cold. She pulled her coat tighter and headed for her car. She had 48 hours before she had to leave the penthouse. 48 hours to pack up 8 years of her life. 48 hours to gather everything Bradford thought he had hidden so well. He thought she was going to cry and beg. He thought she would make a scene. He thought she was just a pretty face who got lucky marrying a rich man. Bradford had made the biggest mistake of his life. And Simone was going to make sure he understood that. Not with screaming or tears or desperate phone calls, but with something much more powerful. She got into her car and pulled out her laptop. First, she would need a forensic accountant. Then a ruthless divorce attorney who specialized in uncovering hidden assets. Then a plan. Simone had helped Bradford build an empire. Now she was going to build her own. And she was going to make sure that everyone knew exactly what kind of man Bradford really was. Not through revenge. Through success. She started typing, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The first email went to her former classmate from Howard, now one of the top divorce attorneys in the state. The second went to a private investigator she'd researched months ago, when she first suspected Bradford's affairs. Because Simone hadn't been blind. She'd just been strategic. Waiting for the right moment. Gathering information. Planning her exit. Bradford thought he was abandoning her. He had no idea she was about to disappear on her own terms. And when she resurfaced, it would be as someone he couldn't touch. Someone he couldn't control. Someone he would desperately wish he'd never let go. The sun was setting as Simone drove back to the penthouse one last time. She had work to do. Files to copy. Evidence to secure. A future to build. And Bradford and Natasha had no idea what was coming. Simone let herself into the penthouse at midnight. She'd waited until she was sure Bradford and Natasha would be asleep. The place she'd called home for 5 years felt different now. Foreign. Like someone else's space. Because it was. Natasha's perfume hung in the air. Her jacket was thrown over the back of the couch Simone had picked out. Her shoes were kicked off by the door. The woman had moved in completely, making herself comfortable in Simone's life. Simone moved silently through the living room, heading for Bradford's home office. He'd always kept it locked, but she had the key. She'd always had the key. He just never thought she'd use it. The door opened without a sound. Simone closed it behind her and pulled out her phone, using the flashlight to navigate to Bradford's desk. She didn't turn on the lights. Didn't need to. She knew this office as well as he did. His computer sat on the desk, password protected. But Simone knew the password. She'd seen him type it 100 times when he thought she wasn't paying attention. She'd memorized it months ago, back when her suspicions first started. The screen glowed to life. Simone pulled a portable hard drive from her purse and plugged it in. Then she started copying. Everything. Financial records. Emails. Text messages he'd backed up. Business documents. Personal files. She'd been a financial analyst before marrying Bradford. She knew what to look for. And as the files transferred, she opened his email and started reading. What she found made her hands shake. Not from sadness. From anger. Bradford hadn't just been having an affair with Natasha. He'd been systematically hiding assets. Moving money into offshore accounts. Falsifying business records. Creating shell companies that existed only on paper. He'd been preparing for a divorce for over a year, making sure he could claim the company was worth less than it actually was. He'd been planning to cheat her long before he'd moved Natasha in. Simone took screenshots of everything. She found emails between Bradford and his accountant discussing how to minimize exposure in a divorce. She found texts between Bradford and Natasha laughing about how the wife had no idea what was coming. She found proof that Bradford had been moving money out of their joint accounts slowly, in amounts small enough that Simone wouldn't notice. Except she had noticed. She'd been watching. Waiting. The hard drive showed 80% complete. Simone opened Bradford's desk drawers, photographing documents. She found a folder labeled Divorce Strategy and nearly laughed. Inside were notes from his lawyer about how to present the company's value as minimal. How to claim business debts that didn't exist. How to make it look like they were barely breaking even when they'd made $16 million in profit last year alone. Her phone buzzed. A text from her attorney, "Did you get in?" Simone typed back quickly, "Yes. It's worse than we thought. He's been planning this for over a year. Copy everything. I'll have the forensic accountant ready." The hard drive finished. Simone unplugged it and slipped it back into her purse. Then she moved to Bradford's filing cabinet. She knew the combination. She'd organized these files herself 2 years ago. Inside were the original contracts for Bradford's company. Partnership agreements. stock certificates, real estate deeds, insurance policies, everything Bradford thought was safely hidden away. Simone pulled out her phone and started photographing. Every page, every document, every piece of paper that proved what Bradford really owned. She found their prenuptial agreement. The one Bradford's lawyer had pressured her to sign the week before their wedding. The one that said she was entitled to almost nothing if they divorced. But Simone noticed something now that she hadn't seen 8 years ago, when she'd been young and in love and trusting. There was a clause. A small paragraph on page 7. It said that if Bradford was proven to have committed fraud during the marriage, the prenup could be voided. Fraud. Like hiding assets in a divorce. Like moving money to avoid fair division of property. Simone took extra photos of that page. She moved through the office methodically. Bradford's safe was behind a painting on the wall. She'd watched him open it countless times. The combination was their wedding anniversary. He'd always thought that was romantic. Inside the safe were deeds to properties Simone didn't even know they owned. A beach house in Florida. A cabin in Colorado. An apartment in New York City. All titled in Bradford's name alone, purchased during their marriage with what should have been joint funds. More evidence. More proof. More ammunition. Simone photographed everything. Her phone's memory was filling up, but she didn't stop. She uploaded photos to a secure cloud account her attorney had set up. Everything backed up. Everything protected. A sound from the hallway made her freeze. Footsteps. Bradford's footsteps. She'd lived with him long enough to recognize his walk. Simone quickly closed the safe and rehung the painting. She shut down the computer and slipped behind the door just as the handle turned. Bradford walked in wearing only pajama pants. He flipped on the light, squinting in the sudden brightness. He walked to his desk, muttering under his breath, and grabbed his phone charger. Simone barely breathed. She was pressed against the wall behind the open door, invisible as long as Bradford didn't close it. Her heart hammered, but she stayed perfectly still. Bradford grabbed the charger and started to leave. Then he paused, looked around the office. His eyes swept the room like he sensed something was wrong. Simone's hand tightened on her phone. If he found her, she'd say she came to get something. A book. A file. Something innocent. But Bradford shook his head and walked out, leaving the door open behind him. His footsteps faded down the hallway. Simone waited 5 full minutes before she moved. Then she slipped out of the office, through the living room and out the front door. She didn't breathe normally until she was in the elevator going down. Back in her car, Simone pulled out the hard drive in her phone. She had everything. Bank records proving Bradford had hidden over $30 million. Emails proving he'd planned to cheat her in the divorce. Documents proving fraud. Evidence that would blow up his neat little settlement offer. She started the car and drove to her attorney's house. It was 2 in the morning, but this couldn't wait. Her attorney, Patricia, answered the door in a robe. She took one look at Simone's face and stepped aside. "Come in." They spent the next 4 hours going through everything. Patricia's eyes grew wider with each document. "This is incredible," she said finally. "He's committed fraud on multiple levels. The prenup won't hold up. And if we can prove he moved assets specifically to avoid fair division." "We can," Simone said. She pulled up an email chain. "Look. He explicitly says in this email that he's moving money, so I can't touch it in the divorce." Patricia smiled grimly. "He's an idiot. A rich idiot, but an idiot. We can take him apart with this." "I don't want to take him apart," Simone said quietly. "I want my fair share. I want what I earned. And then I want to never see him again." "What about criminal charges?" "This is fraud, Simone. Real fraud. The kind that gets you federal charges." Simone was quiet for a moment. Then she shook her head. "Not yet. Maybe later. Right now, I just want out. Out of the marriage, out of his life, out of Chicago." "Where will you go?" "Somewhere he can't find me. Somewhere I can start over." Patricia nodded. "I'll file a response to his divorce petition. I'll include a request for full financial disclosure. He'll have to produce records, and when they don't match what we have, he'll know we caught him. He'll probably try to negotiate." "Good," Simone said. "Let him negotiate. But I want more than $2 million, Patricia. I want at least $40 million. That's less than 15% of what he's actually worth, and I helped build that company. I earned it." "We'll get it," Patricia promised. "Trust me. When he sees what we have, he'll pay." Simone left Patricia's house as the sun was rising. She drove back to the penthouse one last time. She had to pack. Had to get her things. Had to say goodbye to the life she'd built. But she wasn't sad anymore. She was energized. Focused. Ready. Bradford thought he'd outsmarted her. He thought he'd hidden everything so well. He thought she was just a pretty face who didn't understand business or money or law. He was about to learn how wrong he was. And by the time he realized his mistake, Simone would be gone. Vanished. Untouchable. She'd built him up once. Now she was going to build herself up. Higher than he'd ever climbed. Further than he'd ever dreamed. And he was going to watch it happen from a distance, powerless to stop her. That was the best revenge of all. Simone spent her last day in the penthouse packing methodically. Not everything, she didn't want everything. Just what mattered. Her clothes. Her books. Her grandmother's jewelry. Photos from before Bradford. Pieces of herself that had nothing to do with him. She left the designer bags he'd bought her. The expensive dresses she'd worn to his business dinners. The jewelry he'd given her on anniversaries while probably thinking about someone else. Let Natasha have it all. Let her think she'd won. Bradford wasn't home. He'd sent her a text that morning, "Please be out by 8 p.m. I'll have movers come for the Connecticut house items next week." No apology. No explanation. Just instructions. Like she was staff being dismissed. Simone didn't respond. She just packed. Patricia called at noon. We filed the response. Bradford's attorney called me screaming within an hour. Apparently Bradford is very upset that we're requesting full financial disclosure. I bet he is, Simone said, folding a sweater. They want to meet. Negotiate. Bradford apparently wants to be reasonable and avoid a long court battle. How much is he offering now? 20 million. Simone stopped packing. 20 million? He knows we have something. He doesn't know what, but he knows. He's scared. Tell him 40 million or we go to court. And we share everything we found with the IRS. Patricia was quiet for a moment. That's playing hardball. He played hardball first. I'm just playing smarter. I'll make the call. But Simone, even if he agrees, it'll take weeks to finalize. Where are you going in the meantime? I have a plan, Simone said. Don't worry about me. She hung up and continued packing. By 4 p.m., everything she wanted fit in her car. Everything else, the furniture, the art, the life she'd built, she left behind. She walked through the penthouse one last time. The living room where she'd hosted dinner parties. The kitchen where she'd made breakfast every Sunday. The bedroom where she'd slept beside a man who'd been planning to betray her. She felt nothing. This wasn't her home anymore. Maybe it never really had been. Simone locked the door behind her and left the keys on the hall table with a note. I'm out. Don't contact me. Your attorney can reach mine. She drove straight to a storage unit she'd rented under her maiden name. Everything went inside except one suitcase. Then she drove to the airport. Her phone rang. Bradford. She didn't answer. He called again. Then again. Then a text. Where are you? Your attorney is threatening me. What's going on? Simone blocked his number. Then she blocked Natasha's. Then she blocked everyone connected to Bradford's world. His friends. His business partners. His family. Everyone. She was vanishing. Completely. At the airport, Simone bought a ticket to Atlanta. Not because she wanted to go to Atlanta, but because she wanted Bradford to think she had. She used her credit card, leaving a trail. Then she walked to a different airline and bought a ticket to Phoenix with cash. No trail. No record Bradford could find. On the plane, Simone pulled out her laptop. She'd already applied for jobs in Phoenix, Denver, and Seattle under her maiden name. 3 different cities, 3 different backup plans. She wasn't sure where she'd end up, but it wouldn't be anywhere Bradford expected. Her phone buzzed with a blocked number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Then a voicemail appeared. Against her better judgment, Simone listened. Bradford's voice filled her ear. Simone, what the hell is going on? Your attorney is saying you have evidence of fraud? That's insane. I've been completely transparent about our finances. Call me back. We need to talk about this like adults. Simone deleted the voicemail. Like adults. As if he'd acted like an adult when he filed for divorce through a lawyer. When he moved his mistress into their home. When he'd spent a year hiding money to cheat her. She'd spent 8 years being reasonable. Being understanding. Being patient. Now she was done. The plane landed in Phoenix at midnight. Simone checked into a cheap hotel under a fake name, paying cash. Then she opened her laptop and sent Patricia an email. I'm settled. Don't tell anyone where I am. Not even my family. If Bradford asks, tell him I don't want to be found. Patricia's response came quickly. He's desperate. Calling every hour. Offering 30 million now. Says he'll go to 40 if you'll meet with him. Tell him I'll take 40 million but I won't meet with him. Ever. Attorney communication only. He won't like that. I don't care what he likes. Simone closed her laptop and looked around the small hotel room. It was nothing like the penthouse. No marble counters. No floor-to-ceiling windows. No luxury. Just a bed, a bathroom, and silence. It felt like freedom. The next morning, Simone woke up early and started executing the rest of her plan. She opened a bank account under her maiden name, Simone Carter. She got a new phone number. She rented a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. She applied for jobs using her economics degree, not mentioning her marriage or Bradford's company. Within a week, she had 3 job offers. She took the one at a financial consulting firm that specialized in helping people protect their assets. The irony wasn't lost on her. Bradford kept trying to reach her. He called Patricia constantly. He hired investigators who found her trail to Atlanta but lost it there. He offered 45 million, then 50. He was panicking and Simone felt nothing but satisfaction. Finally, Patricia called with news. He agreed. 40 million. Wire transfer to your account. The divorce will be final in 6 weeks. But he wants to know where you are. No, Simone said. He doesn't get to know. You wanted me gone, I'm gone. He gets nothing from me except my signature on the papers. He says he wants to apologize. Simone laughed. Actually laughed. Tell him I don't want his apology. I want my money and my freedom. That's all. The money came through 3 days later. $40 million appeared in Simone's new bank account. More money than she'd ever imagined having. Money she'd earned by being smart. By planning ahead. By refusing to be a victim. She signed the divorce papers electronically. Didn't read Bradford's pathetic note attached. Just signed and sent them back. 6 weeks later, the divorce was final. Simone Carter was a single woman again. Free. Wealthy. And completely invisible to the man who tried to throw her away. Bradford had no idea where she was. No way to contact her. No way to apologize or explain or try to win her back. And that was exactly how Simone wanted it. She disappeared. And she was never coming back. 6 months after leaving Chicago, Simone sat in her new office in Phoenix, reviewing client files. The office was small, just 2 rooms in a shared building, but it was hers. Her name was on the door, Carter Financial Consulting. She'd started the business 3 months ago with 10 million of her divorce settlement. The rest was invested safely, growing while she built something new. Something that mattered. Her specialty was helping women protect their assets in divorce. Women who were going through what she'd gone through. Women whose husbands were hiding money, lying about business values, trying to cheat them out of what they'd earned. Simone knew every trick, every loophole, every lie, because she'd lived it. Her first client had been a woman named Nicole, whose husband owned a chain of restaurants. He claimed the business was failing, claimed they were in debt, claimed she'd be lucky to get $50,000. Simone had taken one look at the financials and laughed. He's hiding at least 2 million, she told Nicole. Here, and here. She'd pointed to inconsistencies in the tax returns. False business expenses. Money moving through shell companies. Nicole had cried with relief. How did you know? Because my ex-husband tried the same thing. Now let me show you how to prove it. They'd settled for 3 million. Nicole had sent 5 of her friends to Simone. Those friends sent more. Word spread. Within 3 months, Simone had 20 clients and a waiting list. She hired an assistant, Angela, a sharp woman in her 50s who'd been through her own ugly divorce. Together they built a system. Intake forms. Financial analysis. Strategy sessions. Court preparation. Simone became known as the woman who could find hidden money. The consultant who never lost. The expert who turned divorce from disaster into opportunity. She loved it. Every morning she woke up excited to work. Every client who walked away with what they deserved felt like a personal victory. She was helping women the way she'd wished someone had helped her. And she was getting wealthy doing it. Really wealthy. Her client list grew to include high-net-worth divorces. Women whose husbands were doctors, lawyers, business owners, politicians. Women who had signed bad prenups and thought they were trapped. Simone showed them they weren't trapped. They were powerful. Meanwhile, Bradford was falling apart. Simone knew because she couldn't help following the news. His company had hit legal trouble. Some of his shady business practices had caught up with him. Partners were suing. Investors were pulling out. And Natasha, the young mistress he'd chosen over his wife, had gotten pregnant. Bradford had married her quickly, too quickly. The gossip site said it seemed rushed. Desperate. Simone saw photos of them at a charity gala. Bradford looked older. Tired. Natasha looked bored, her hand resting on her growing belly while she stared at her phone. They looked miserable. Simone closed her laptop and smiled. She didn't feel bad for Bradford. She didn't feel anything for him at all. He'd made his choice. Now he was living with it. Her phone rang. Patricia. How's Phoenix treating you? Good, Simone said. Really good. I just signed on 3 new clients this week. I heard. You're making waves, you know. People in Chicago are talking about this woman in Phoenix who's destroying men's divorce strategies. Good, Simone said. Let them talk. Bradford's been asking about you. Simone's smile faded. What does he want? To know how you're doing. Where you are. If you're happy. Patricia paused. His company is in trouble. Real trouble. I think he's realizing what he lost. Too bad, Simone said coldly. He made his bed. He can lie in it with Natasha. He's hired investigators again. Trying to find you. He won't. I've been careful. New name, new city, new life. He doesn't get to know anything about me. What if he shows up? He won't. He doesn't know where to look. And even if he did, I'd have security remove him. I don't want to see him, Patricia. Ever. Understood. Just wanted you to know. Simone hung up and sat back in her chair. Bradford was looking for her. The thought should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel powerful. He wanted to find her. Wanted to see what she'd become. Wanted maybe to apologize or explain or try to fix what he'd broken. But he couldn't. Because Simone was gone. The woman he'd married, the woman he'd dismissed as just a pretty face, didn't exist anymore. In her place was someone stronger. Smarter. More successful than he'd ever be. That night, Simone went home to her apartment. It was small compared to the penthouse, but she'd decorated it herself. Her colors. Her style. Her choices. No compromises. No trying to please anyone but herself. She made dinner, pasta with vegetables, simple and satisfying. She ate on her couch while watching a financial podcast. Then she opened her laptop and worked on her website. Carter Financial Consulting was growing. She needed to hire another analyst. Maybe 2. She was getting calls from California, Texas, even New York. Women wanted her help. Needed her expertise. She was building an empire. Not Bradford's empire that she'd helped create. Her own empire. Built on helping other women. Built on justice and fairness and making sure men like Bradford couldn't cheat their way through divorce. Simone looked at her reflection in the dark window. She barely recognized herself from 6 months ago. She'd let her hair grow natural. Stopped wearing the designer clothes Bradford had preferred. Started dressing in ways that made her feel comfortable and confident rather than polished and perfect. She looked like herself again. For the first time in 8 years. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. Mom wants to know when you're coming to visit. She misses you. Simone smiled. Soon. Tell her I love her. She kept her family at a distance during the divorce. Not because she didn't trust them, but because she didn't want Bradford using them to find her. Now that things had settled, she could reconnect. On her terms. Another text, this one from Angela. Tomorrow's client just sent over her husband's financial statements. You were right. He's hiding money in a cryptocurrency account he doesn't think we can trace. Simone typed back, we can trace anything. I'll show you tomorrow. She set down her phone and looked around her apartment. Small. Modest. Quiet. Hers. This was success. Not the penthouse or the designer clothes or the billionaire husband. This. Freedom. Purpose. Control over her own life. Bradford could keep looking for her. He could wonder where she went. He could regret his choices. Simone didn't care. She disappeared from his world. And she was never going back. She was too busy building something better. In Chicago, Bradford paced his penthouse office at 3 a.m, his phone pressed to his ear. His third private investigator in 6 months was giving him the same news as the others. Mr. Bradford, I'm sorry, but the trail goes cold in Atlanta. She used her credit card at the airport there, but after that, nothing. No hotel charges. No rental cars. No phone records. It's like she vanished. Bradford threw his phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. Natasha appeared in the doorway, 7 months pregnant, her face tired and annoyed. You're still up? She said. It's 3 a.m. I can't find her, Bradford said, running his hands through his hair. How can I not find her? I have money. I have resources. How can one woman just disappear? Natasha sighed and waddled into the room. She'd gained 40 pounds and her face was puffy. The beautiful young woman who charmed him at the office Christmas party looked exhausted and resentful. Maybe you should stop looking. I can't stop looking. Bradford paced faster. She took $40 million, Natasha. Half of what that's worth should be mine. And now my business is falling apart and I need. You need what? You need her back. Natasha's voice turned sharp. Is that what this is about? You regret leaving her? No, of course not. I need to know where she is. What she's doing. If she's what? Happy? More successful than you? Bradford let her go. You divorced her. You moved me in. You got what you wanted. Did he? Bradford looked around the penthouse. It looked the same as when Simone lived here, but it felt different. Oh, empty. Natasha had added her things, but they didn't make it feel like home. They made it feel cluttered. His business was hemorrhaging money. Partners who'd respected him were distancing themselves. Some deal he'd done years ago was under investigation. His accountant kept calling with bad news about tax problems and missing documentation. And Natasha was pregnant. That should make him happy. A baby. A new family. A fresh start. Instead he felt trapped. I'm going back to bed, Natasha said. You should sleep too. The baby kicks all night and I need you rested tomorrow. We have that birthing class. Bradford nodded but didn't move. Natasha left and he was alone again with his thoughts. Where was Simone? Why couldn't he find her? And why did he care so much? He'd thought divorcing her was the right choice. She'd been fine, beautiful, supportive, smart, but boring. No excitement. No passion. Just steady support and quiet competence. He'd wanted more. Wanted someone who made him feel young and alive. Natasha had been exciting at first. Flirty. Fun. Dangerous. But now she was just another wife. Pregnant and tired and annoyed with him most of the time. And she spent money like it grew on trees. His accounts were draining. She bought designer baby clothes, expensive nursery furniture, a new car because hers wasn't safe enough for a baby. Meanwhile, Simone had vanished with $40 million of his money. Money he tried to hide. Money he'd needed. His lawyer kept warning him that more problems were coming. Something about fraud allegations. Bradford didn't understand it all. He'd just done what his accountant suggested. Moved money around. Made the company look smaller than it was. Standard practice, or so he'd thought. But now people were asking questions. Lawyers were sending letters. Investigators were requesting documents. And he couldn't focus on any of it because he was obsessed with finding his ex-wife. Bradford's phone rang. He picked it up from where he'd thrown it, expecting another investigator. Instead, it was a number he didn't recognize. Hello? Mr. Bradford? This is Detective Chin from the Chicago Police Department. We need to talk to you about some financial irregularities that have come to our attention. Bradford's blood ran cold. What kind of irregularities? I think it's better if we discuss this in person. Can you come to the station tomorrow at 9 a.m.? I need to speak with my lawyer first. That's your right. But Mr. Bradford, I'd advise you to take this seriously. These are federal charges we're looking at. The detective hung up. Bradford stood frozen, staring at his phone. Federal charges. What federal charges? He called his lawyer at 3 in the morning, waking him up. They talked for 2 hours. His lawyer's words kept circling in Bradford's head. If they can prove you hid assets to commit fraud, you're looking at serious prison time. Prison. Bradford couldn't go to prison. He had a baby on the way. A company to run. A life to live. By the time the sun came up, Bradford was exhausted and terrified. Natasha found him still in his office, staring at the wall. Did you sleep at all? She asked. I'm in trouble, Bradford said quietly. Real trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind that might send me to prison. Natasha's face went pale. What? Bradford explained. The hidden money. The shell companies. The fraud allegations. Natasha listened, her hand on her belly, her expression shifting from shock to angry. You told me the divorce was clean, she finally said. You told me everything was handled properly. I thought it was. But it wasn't. And now we're having a baby and you might go to prison? Natasha's voice rose. Bradford, what were you thinking? I was thinking I wanted to keep what was mine. Bradford shouted back. I built that company. Simone didn't deserve half. Simone was your wife. She helped you build it. Natasha was crying now. I've seen the photos, Bradford. I've heard the stories. She was brilliant. Everyone says so. And you threw her away like garbage and lied about money, and now it's all falling apart. I didn't throw her away. I wanted something different. You wanted me, Natasha said bitterly. And now you're stuck with me and a baby and federal charges. Congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. She left the office. Bradford heard her crying in the bedroom. He should go comfort her. Should apologize. Should do something. Instead, he pulled out his laptop and searched for Simone one more time. He knew it was pointless. He'd looked 1,000 times. But he couldn't stop. He found nothing. Just the same old photos from when they were married. Smiling pictures at charity galas and business dinners. Simone looking beautiful in designer gowns, her arm linked through his, her smile genuine and warm. He'd had everything. And he'd thrown it away for excitement. For youth. For Natasha. Now Simone was gone. His business was crumbling. His new wife resented him. And he might be going to prison. Bradford closed his laptop and put his head in his hands. For the first time since filing for divorce, he let himself cry. What had he done? Simone stood on stage at the National Women's Financial Summit in Dallas, facing an audience of 300 women. She wore a sharp blue suit, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo, her makeup minimal but perfect. She looked confident. Powerful. Nothing like the woman who'd sat in a lawyer's office a year ago being handed divorce papers. I want to tell you about a client, Simone said, her voice carrying through the conference hall. Let's call her Jennifer. Jennifer's husband was a successful surgeon. They'd been married 20 years. She'd put him through medical school, raised 3 kids, managed his practice during the early years. And when he filed for divorce, his lawyer offered her $50,000 a year in alimony and nothing else. The audience murmured angrily. Jennifer's husband claimed he had debts, claimed the practice was struggling, claimed she wasn't entitled to anything because she didn't work outside the home. Simone paused. But I looked at his financials. And you know what I found? The audience leaned forward. He'd purchased 3 rental properties in his brother's name. He'd opened a separate medical practice under an LLC that didn't show up in his personal assets. He'd been moving money for 5 years, preparing for a divorce Jennifer didn't even know was coming. Simone smiled. By the time we were done, Jennifer walked away with $4 million and half ownership of the rental properties. The audience erupted in applause. Simone waited for it to die down before continuing. That's what I do. I find what men hide. I prove what they lie about. And I make sure women get what they've earned. She looked out at the sea of faces. Because divorce isn't about revenge. It's about justice. More applause. After her speech, women lined up to talk to her. To ask questions. To thank her. To hire her. Simone's business had exploded in the past 6 months. She'd hired 5 analysts, opened an office in Dallas, and was planning a 3rd location in Los Angeles. Her client list included CEOs, doctors, lawyers, and women married to men worth hundreds of millions. She'd become nationally known. Articles about her appeared in business magazines. She'd been interviewed on financial podcasts. She'd written an op-ed for a major newspaper about protecting assets in marriage. Carter Financial Consulting was becoming a household name. And Simone was becoming wealthy. Really wealthy. Her own investments had tripled. She'd started a foundation to help low-income women afford legal representation in divorce. She'd bought a beautiful house in the Phoenix Hills with a view of the mountains. She was living the life she'd always dreamed of. Not as someone's wife. As herself. Her phone buzzed during a break in the conference. Patricia. Simone stepped into the hallway to take the call. I have news, Patricia said. Bradford's being investigated by the FBI. Simone froze. What? Remember all that evidence you gave me? The hidden accounts, the fraud, the shell companies? Someone gave it to federal investigators. They're building a case. Who gave it to them? I don't know. But Simone, they're calling it one of the biggest divorce fraud cases in Illinois history. If they can prove he deliberately hid assets to cheat you, he's looking at prison time. Simone was quiet for a moment. She should feel triumphant. Vindicated. Happy that Bradford was facing consequences. Instead, she felt nothing. Bradford's legal problems weren't her concern anymore. She'd moved on. Built something new. She didn't need him to suffer. She just needed him to be irrelevant. Thanks for letting me know, Simone said. But Patricia, I don't want to be involved. If investigators call, tell them I'll cooperate if legally required. But I'm not pursuing this. I'm done with Bradford. Understood. But Simone, you should know he's desperate. His company is failing. His marriage is a mess. And now this. He's apparently been trying even harder to find you. He won't find me. I've been careful. I know. Just wanted you to be aware. Simone hung up and leaned against the wall. Bradford was looking for her. Desperately. Frantically. But he'd never find her. Because the Simone he'd known didn't exist anymore. She was Carter now. Simone Carter, financial consultant and businesswoman. Not Mrs. Bradford, trophy wife. The transformation was complete. That night, Simone had dinner with some of the conference attendees. They asked her about her journey. How she'd started her business. What inspired her. Simone told them a version of the truth. She'd been through a difficult divorce. Seen how the system could be manipulated. Decided to use her economics background to help other women. She didn't mention Bradford by name. Didn't tell them about the penthouse or the betrayal or the mistress. That was private. Personal. None of their business. One woman, a lawyer from Boston, leaned closer. You've really built something amazing. What's next for you? Expansion, Simone said. I want offices in every major city. I want to train other analysts. I want to create a network so that any woman, anywhere, can get help protecting her assets. That's ambitious. I'm an ambitious person. The lawyer smiled. I can see that. You know, I have clients who'd benefit from your services. Can I refer them? Please do. Business cards were exchanged. Contacts made. Opportunities created. This was Simone's life now. Building. Growing. Succeeding. Later, back in her hotel room, Simone checked her messages. One from Angela. 3 new clients today. All high net worth. All desperate. The waiting list is getting long. Simone smiled. Success felt good. Not because she was proving something to Bradford, but because she was proving something to herself. She'd survived. More than survived. She'd thrived. Her phone rang. A known number. Simone almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Silence. Then a familiar voice. Simone. Bradford. Somehow he'd gotten her new number. Simone's hand tightened on the phone. How did you get this number? I've been looking for you. For months. I needed to hear your voice. To know you're okay. I'm more than okay. I'm excellent. And I'm hanging up now. Wait. Please. I need to talk to you. I'm in trouble, Simone. Real trouble. And I. Your trouble isn't my problem, Simone said coldly. You made your choices. Now live with them. I was wrong. About everything. About Natasha, about the divorce, about... I don't care. Goodbye, Bradford. She hung up. Blocked the number immediately. Then she called Patricia. He got my new number. I don't know how. I'll find out. Probably bribe someone. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Simone sat on the hotel bed, her heart racing. Hearing Bradford's voice had rattled her. Not because she missed him, but because it reminded her that he was still out there. Still trying to reach her. Still refusing to accept that she was gone. But she was gone. And she was never going back. The next morning, Simone posted on her business social media. A photo of herself on stage at the conference, looking powerful and confident. The caption read, Justice isn't about revenge. It's about fairness. And every woman deserves what she's earned. The post went viral. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments from women thanking her. Dozens of media requests. Simone Carter was becoming famous. And Bradford could only watch from a distance, powerless to stop her rise. That's exactly how she wanted it. Bradford sat in his lawyer's office, staring at the federal subpoena on the desk. His lawyer, Frank, looked grim. They want everything, Frank said. Bank records. Business documents. Emails. Tax returns. They're building a case for fraud, Bradford. Multiple counts. Can we settle? With the FBI? No. If they have evidence you deliberately hid assets to commit fraud, you're going to be charged. Best case scenario, you cooperate fully and maybe get a reduced sentence. Sentence. Bradford's voice cracked. I could go to prison? Yes. 5 to 10 years if they prove everything they're alleging. Bradford put his head in his hands. This was impossible. This was a nightmare. A year ago he'd had everything. A successful company. A beautiful wife. Freedom. Now he had nothing. Natasha had given birth 3 months ago. A son. They'd named him Bradford Jr. Bradford barely saw him. Natasha kept the baby in the nursery and hired a night nurse because she was exhausted. She'd also hired a personal trainer and was obsessed with losing the baby weight. Their marriage was a disaster. They fought constantly. About money. About his legal problems. About Simone. Because Natasha was obsessed with Simone too. She'd somehow found Simone's business website. Saw photos of her speaking at conferences. looking beautiful and confident and successful. Natasha would stare at the photos for hours, comparing herself to Bradford's ex-wife. "She looks better than me," Natasha would say. "She's more successful than both of us. Why did you even leave her?" Bradford didn't have an answer. Looking back, he didn't know why he'd left Simone. She'd been everything he needed. Smart, supportive, beautiful, loyal. And he'd thrown her away for excitement that lasted about 3 months. Now Simone was thriving. And Bradford was drowning. His phone rang. Frank glanced at the number. "That's the FBI. You need to answer." Bradford took the call. An agent named Rodriguez explained that they were executing a search warrant on his office and home. They'd be there in 2 hours. Bradford should cooperate fully. When the call ended, Bradford sat in stunned silence. "They're raiding my home? With Natasha and the baby there? You should call and warn her." Bradford called. Natasha screamed at him for 10 minutes. Then she called a divorce attorney. By the time the FBI arrived at the penthouse, Natasha had already moved out, taking the baby to her mother's house. Bradford watched as agents boxed up his files. His computers, his records, everything. They were polite but thorough. They took every document from his home office, every hard drive, every scrap of paper. His lawyer stood beside him. "Don't say anything. Let them work." It took 6 hours. When they finally left, Bradford's home looked ransacked. Empty. Destroyed. Like his life. He called Natasha. She didn't answer. He called again. Finally, she texted, "My lawyer will be in touch. I want a divorce. I'm not going down with you." Bradford stared at the text. His second wife was leaving him. Just like he'd left his first wife. The irony was almost funny. Almost. The media got wind of the FBI raid. By the next morning, it was all over the news. Chicago billionaire under investigation for fraud. Photos of Bradford's penthouse with FBI agents carrying boxes. Speculation about how much money he'd hidden. Questions about his business practices. His company's stock dropped 40%. Partners called emergency meetings. Investors demanded answers. Clients started canceling contracts. Bradford's empire was collapsing. Everything he'd built. Everything he'd sacrificed Simone for. Gone. And Simone herself? She was on the news too. But not because of him. She was being interviewed about financial fraud and divorce cases, about protecting assets, about empowering women. She looked radiant. Happy. Free. The interviewer asked her, "You've become an expert in uncovering financial fraud and divorce. Have you experienced this personally?" Simone smiled. "I went through a difficult divorce. I saw how the system could be manipulated. That experience taught me what to look for and how to help other women." "Would you say your ex-husband's behavior inspired your career?" "I'd say his behavior taught me that women need to be smart about protecting themselves. Not every man is dishonest, but every woman should be prepared." She didn't mention Bradford by name. Didn't give any details. But people connected the dots. Online forums started speculating. Was Simone's ex, the Chicago billionaire, being investigated? The timelines matched. The fraud allegations matched. The story went viral. Wronged wife becomes financial fraud expert while ex faces prison. Headlines that made Bradford look like a villain and Simone like a hero. Bradford watched it all from his empty penthouse. Natasha was gone. The baby was gone. His company was failing. His legal bills were mounting. And Simone was everywhere, succeeding, thriving, winning. He'd lost everything. And she'd gained everything. His phone rang. "Frank, they're officially charging you. Multiple counts of fraud. Tax evasion. Falsifying business records. Bradford, you need to prepare yourself. This is serious." "How serious?" 20 years if they prove everything. Maybe 15 with a plea deal. Bradford hung up and walked to the window. Chicago stretched out below him. The city where he'd built his empire. The city where he'd destroyed his life. He thought about calling Simone. Begging her to help him. But what could she do? And why would she? He'd betrayed her. Humiliated her. Tried to cheat her out of millions. She owed him nothing. Another text from Natasha's lawyer. She was demanding full custody of the baby. Demanding spousal support. Demanding everything. Just like he tried to take everything from Simone. Bradford laughed. Actually laughed. The universe had a sense of humor after all. He tried to destroy Simone. Instead, he destroyed himself. And Simone? She'd built an empire from his ashes. Simone stood in her new Los Angeles office, looking out at the city skyline. The space was beautiful, modern, bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows and sleek furniture. Her third office in 18 months. The expansion was happening faster than she'd planned. Angela walked in with a tablet. The app is ready to launch. Tech team says everything's tested and working perfectly. The app. Simone's next big project. A tool that would help women track their finances, identify red flags in their partner's spending, and connect with financial advisors and lawyers. She'd invested $2 million in development. The tech press was already buzzing about it. What are we calling it? Angela asked. Safeguard, Simone said. Because that's what it does. It safeguards women's financial futures. I love it. Press release goes out tomorrow. Launch is next week. Simone nodded. She was nervous. The app was ambitious. If it succeeded, it would revolutionize how women approached financial security in relationships. If it failed, she'd lose millions. But Simone had learned to trust her instincts. And her instincts said this was important. The launch happened on a Monday morning. Within hours, Safeguard had 10,000 downloads. By evening, 50,000. By the end of the week, 500,000. The app went viral. Women shared it on social media. News outlets covered it. Financial experts praised it. Simone was everywhere, on morning shows, in podcasts, and magazines. And she couldn't hide anymore. The press found out who she was. Found out about Bradford. Found out about the divorce and the fraud investigation and everything. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's ex-wife builds empire while he faces prison." Photos of Simone appeared everywhere. Not old photos from her marriage. New photos. Simone at conferences. Simone in her offices. Simone looking powerful and successful and happy. And Bradford saw all of it. He called her. She didn't answer. He emailed. She blocked him. He showed up at her Phoenix office. Security stopped him at the entrance. Simone watched from her office window as Bradford argued with the guard, gesturing frantically. She picked up her phone and called security. "Let him make a scene," she said calmly. "Then call the police if he won't leave. I don't want to talk to him." Bradford left before the police arrived. But that night, he sent an email to her business account. Simone almost deleted it. But curiosity made her open it. "Simone, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your time. But I'm asking anyway. I'm begging. I've lost everything. My company is gone. Natasha left me. I barely see my son. I'm facing 20 years in prison. I was wrong. About everything. I should never have left you. Should never have lied about our money. Should never have chosen Natasha. You were the best thing in my life and I threw you away. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know that's impossible. I just want you to know I'm sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. And I want you to know I'm proud of you. What you built is amazing. You're amazing. You always were. I was just too stupid to see it." Bradford. Simone read the email 3 times. Then she deleted it. She didn't feel triumphant. Didn't feel vindicated. Just tired. Tired of Bradford haunting her. Tired of the past following her. Tired of being defined by a marriage that ended 2 years ago. She wanted to move forward. To be known for what she'd built, not for what she'd survived. Patricia called. "I saw Bradford tried to see you." "He did. I didn't talk to him." "Good. But Simone, you should know, the FBI wants you to testify. They're building their case against him and they want you to explain the evidence you provided." Simone was quiet. She'd known this was coming. She'd given Patricia the evidence and Patricia had given it to investigators. Simone had wanted justice. Now justice was coming and she'd have to face Bradford in court. "When?" she asked. "Trial starts in 3 months. Your testimony would probably be late in the trial. A few days at most." "I'll do it. But I won't go after him, Patricia. I'll tell the truth. I'll present the evidence. But I won't be vindictive. That's all they need. The truth." Simone hung up and went back to work. She had a client meeting in an hour. A woman whose husband was hiding money in offshore accounts. Simone would find it. She always did. This was her life now. Helping women. Building her business. Making a difference. Bradford was her past. And she was done living in the past. That night, Simone's phone buzzed with a news alert. Bradford's company had officially filed for bankruptcy. The article included a photo of him leaving his lawyer's office, looking haggard and defeated. He'd lost weight. His suit hung loose. He looked nothing like the confident billionaire who'd handed her divorce papers 2 years ago. Simone felt a pang of something. Not sympathy. Not satisfaction. Just sadness. Sadness that their marriage had ended this way. Sadness that Bradford had destroyed his life for nothing. But she couldn't fix him. Couldn't save him. Couldn't help him even if she wanted to. He'd made his choices. Now he was living with them. And Simone? She was living with hers. And her choices had led to success, happiness, and freedom. She'd won. Not because Bradford had lost, but because she'd built something meaningful. Something that mattered. Something that helped people. That was the best revenge of all. The courtroom was packed. Simone sat in the witness waiting area, wearing a simple navy dress and minimal jewelry. She'd been dreading this day for weeks. Seeing Bradford. Speaking in public about their marriage. Reliving the divorce. But it was necessary. Justice was necessary. Patricia sat beside her. You'll do great. Just tell the truth. That's all they need. How's he look? Simone asked. She hadn't seen Bradford yet. Didn't want to until she had to. Broken, Patricia said honestly. He's lost about 30 pounds. His lawyer says he's not doing well. Simone nodded. She didn't feel bad for him. But she didn't feel good either. This whole situation was just sad. The bailiff called her name. Simone stood, smoothed her dress and walked into the courtroom. It was the first time she'd seen Bradford in person in 2 years. He sat at the defense table looking smaller than she remembered. His expensive suit couldn't hide how thin he'd gotten. His face was drawn, his eyes sunken. He looked up as she walked in, and their eyes met for a brief second. Simone looked away and took her seat in the witness box. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Jennifer Reynolds, approached. Please state your name for the record. Simone Carter. Miss Carter, you were married to the defendant, Bradford Thompson, for 8 years. Is that correct? Yes. And during your marriage, did you have involvement in Mr. Thompson's business? Yes. I helped structure several of his early deals. I advised him on financial matters. I had a degree in economics from Howard University and worked as a financial analyst before we married. So you were knowledgeable about his business and finances? Very knowledgeable. And when Mr. Thompson filed for divorce, were you surprised by the financial settlement he offered? Simone glanced at Bradford. He was staring at the table. Yes. He offered me $2 million. Given that his company was worth over $300 million at the time, and that I'd contributed significantly to its growth, $2 million seemed unreasonably low. What did you do? I hired an attorney and requested full financial disclosure. And what did you find? That Mr. Thompson had been hiding assets, moving money to offshore accounts, creating shell companies, falsifying business records to make his company appear less valuable than it actually was. Reynolds pulled up documents on a screen. Are these the records you uncovered? Simone looked at the familiar bank statements and emails. Yes. Those show money being moved to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Those emails show Mr. Thompson discussing with his accountant how to hide assets from me. How did you feel when you discovered this? Bradford's lawyer objected. Relevance. The judge overruled. The witness may answer. Simone took a breath. I felt betrayed. Not just because of the affair, but because he was trying to steal from me. I'd helped build his company. I'd supported his career. And he was planning to cheat me out of what I'd earned. What did you do with this information? I gave it to my attorney. We used it to negotiate a fair settlement. $40 million. And did you also provide this information to federal investigators? My attorney did, yes. At my request. Why? Simone looked directly at Bradford. Because what he did wasn't just wrong morally. It was illegal. He committed fraud. And I believe people should face consequences for their actions. The cross-examination was brutal. Bradford's lawyer tried to make Simone look vindictive. Tried to suggest she'd only provided evidence out of spite. Tried to paint her as a scorned woman seeking revenge. But Simone stayed calm. Stayed factual. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't get defensive. Just told the truth. Isn't it true, Miss Carter, that you were angry about your husband's affair? Yes, I was hurt and angry. And isn't it true you wanted to punish him? No. I wanted what I'd earned. And I wanted him to be held accountable for breaking the law. You've built a successful business helping women in divorce. Hasn't Mr. Thompson's downfall been good for your career? Simone paused. Then she said calmly, Mr. Thompson's downfall has nothing to do with my career. I built my business by helping women protect their assets legally. His legal troubles are a result of his own choices. The lawyer kept pushing, but Simone didn't crack. She'd survived worse than aggressive questions. She'd survived losing everything and building it back. She wasn't going to be intimidated now. After 3 hours, the judge dismissed her. Simone walked out of the courtroom without looking back. Patricia met her in the hallway. "You were perfect," Patricia said. Calm, credible, honest. The jury believed every word. "Good," Simone said. "Because it was all true." They walked toward the exit. Behind them, Simone heard Bradford's voice. "Simone, please, just 5 minutes." She kept walking. Didn't turn around. Didn't acknowledge him. "Simone." Bradford's voice broke. "I'm sorry. Please." Security stopped him from following her out of the courthouse. Simone got into her car and drove away without looking back. The trial lasted 3 more weeks. Simone didn't attend again. She followed the news coverage but stayed focused on her business, on moving forward, on living her life. The verdict came on a Thursday afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Fraud, tax evasion, falsifying business records. The judge sentenced Bradford to 12 years in federal prison. Simone was in a client meeting when she heard. Angela came in and whispered the news. Simone nodded and continued with her presentation. The client, a woman going through her own difficult divorce, had no idea that Simone had just heard her ex-husband was going to prison. After the meeting, Simone sat in her office alone. 12 years. Bradford would be 57 when he got out. His company was gone. His second wife had divorced him. His son would grow up without him. He destroyed everything for an affair that lasted less than a year. Simone should feel triumphant, vindicated, happy that justice had been served. Instead, she just felt sad. Sad for what Bradford had thrown away. Sad for the man he could have been if he'd made different choices. But she didn't feel guilty. She'd done the right thing. Providing evidence of fraud wasn't revenge. It was justice. And she'd moved on. Built something beautiful and meaningful. Helped hundreds of women. Changed lives. That was what mattered. Not Bradford's prison sentence. Not his downfall. Not his regrets. Her success. Her happiness. Her future. Simone turned off her computer and went home. Tomorrow was a new day. A new client. A new opportunity to help someone. Bradford's story was over. But hers was just beginning. 2 years after Bradford's sentencing, Simone stood on a beach in Hawaii watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of purple and pink and orange, reflecting off the calm water. Behind her, music played softly. Laughter drifted from the reception area where guests were gathering. Today was her wedding day. Not to Bradford. Never to Bradford. To someone completely different. His name was Thomas. He was a civil rights attorney she'd met at a conference 8 months ago. He was thoughtful, kind, and funny. He treated her like an equal partner, not a trophy or an accessory. He knew about her past and didn't care. He loved her for who she was now. They'd gotten engaged after 6 months. Quick, maybe, but Simone knew what she wanted. She'd wasted 8 years with the wrong man. She wasn't going to waste time with the right one. The wedding was small. Just close friends and family. No big gala. No press. Just people who mattered celebrating something real. Angela stood beside Simone as her maid of honor. Patricia was there. Her sister and parents. Her team from Carter Financial. People who'd supported her through the worst times and celebrated the best times. "Ready?" Angela asked, smoothing Simone's dress. It was simple and elegant, nothing like the elaborate gown she'd worn for her first wedding. "So ready," Simone said. The ceremony was beautiful. Thomas's vows made her cry. Her own vows were about second chances and new beginnings and choosing happiness. When they kissed, the small crowd cheered. At the reception, Simone's phone buzzed. She almost ignored it. But something made her look. An email from a prison address. Bradford. Simone hesitated. Then she opened it. "Simone, I heard through the news that you're getting remarried. Congratulations. I mean that sincerely. I've had a lot of time to think in here. About my choices. About what I lost. About who I was and who I should have been. You deserve better than me. You always did. And I'm glad you found someone who treats you the way I should have. I want you to know I'm not angry about the testimony or the evidence. You did what was right. I committed fraud. I lied. I cheated. I deserve to face consequences. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. And that I'm proud of what you've built. You're helping people. Changing lives. Making the world better. That's who you always were. I just wish I'd appreciated it when I had the chance. I hope you have the happiness I couldn't give you. Bradford." Simone read the email twice. Then she closed her phone and put it away. She didn't respond. Didn't need to. Bradford's apology didn't change anything. The past was the past. She'd moved on. built a new life, found real love. But she appreciated the words. Appreciated that he'd finally understood what he'd lost. Thomas approached, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," Simone said, taking a glass. And she meant it. They toasted to their future. To happiness. To second chances. The party continued into the night. Dancing and laughter and joy. Simone felt lighter than she had in years. Free. Happy. Well, her business was thriving. She had offices in 10 cities now. The Safeguard app had 5 million users. She'd helped thousands of women protect themselves and their futures. She'd built something that mattered. And now she had love too. Real love. The kind that supported and uplifted instead of controlling and diminishing. Later, as they left the reception to head to their honeymoon suite, Thomas took her hand. "I love you, Mrs. Carter-Williams." Simone had kept her maiden name professionally but taken Thomas's name personally. A choice. Not something forced on her. A partnership, not a takeover. "I love you too," she said. In the suite, Simone looked out at the ocean. The moon reflected on the water, creating a path of light. She thought about where she'd been 2 years ago. Sitting in a lawyer's office. Broken and betrayed. Angry and lost. She'd come so far. Not because of revenge. Not because she'd destroyed Bradford. But because she'd built herself up. Created something meaningful. Chosen happiness over bitterness. That was the real triumph. Not Bradford's downfall. Her rise. Thomas wrapped his arms around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" "How far I've come," Simone said. "How different my life is now." Regrets. Not one. And she meant it. She didn't regret leaving Bradford. Didn't regret testifying. Didn't regret any of it. Because every choice had led her here. To this moment. To this life. To this love. Bradford was in prison, paying for his crimes. Natasha had moved on, married to someone else. Their son was growing up without knowing his father. That was their story. Their consequences. Their path. Simone's path had led to success, happiness, and fulfillment. She'd helped hundreds of women. Built a business that changed lives. Found love that was real and healthy. She turned betrayal into purpose. Pain into power. Loss into gain. That was revenge. Not destruction. But success. The best revenge was living well. And Simone was living very well indeed. The next morning, as they flew to their honeymoon in Bora Bora, Simone opened her laptop one last time. She had a keynote speech to prepare. A new expansion plan to review. A foundation grant to approve. Her life was full. Rich. Meaningful. Thomas looked over. "Working on your honeymoon?" Simone smiled. "Just finishing up. Then I'm all yours." She sent her final emails, closed the laptop, and turned to her husband. The man who valued her intelligence as much as her beauty. Who supported her ambitions instead of feeling threatened. Who made her laugh and feel safe and loved. This was happiness. This was triumph. This was justice. Not because Bradford had lost. But because Simone had won. She'd won by choosing herself. By building a life she was proud of. By helping others. By refusing to be a victim. And as the plane flew over the ocean toward their honeymoon, Simone looked out the window and smiled. She'd left behind the penthouse, the billionaire husband, the fake perfect life. And she'd gained everything that really mattered. Freedom. Purpose. Love. Success. She disappeared from Bradford's world and built her own world. A world where she was in control. Where she made the rules. Where she defined success. That was the triumph. That was the revenge. That was the happy ending.